Hey, gratitude is a skill, guys. But if you practice joyful life regardless of your circumstances.
No Filter Radio with Alan Cutler, brought to you by Quantrell Auto Group. QuantrellForLife.com.
Good afternoon. I'm Alan Cutler. Jimmy, it's only fair that I no filter myself. Isn't that what I always do if there's a screw up?
You are always no filtering yourself if needed.
If needed. You know what's really scary? Your mic was turned off, so I couldn't hear you for a second. Normally, I don't care, but we've had technical difficulties that are on my end. And so I went for a second. No, we are late. I humbly apologize. The system I have at my house is so simplistic. A semi-smart 6-year-old could do it. It's only a couple of buttons, and for some reason, it was not working. The old reboot, the reboot. Anyway, I'm here. I'm assuming the obvious, Jimmy. Don't you assume it's my fault? Although this is so easy, it's ridiculous. I do the same thing every day. Okay, enough of that. Fascinating day. It really is, because a couple things I want to get into is, believe it or not, we have to play this clip of, and we will in a minute or two, of Diana Taurasi. She's starting a show on Prime, and my respect for her is off the charts. She is one of the greatest athletes in the last 30 years. If you think about what she did and how to do it in her 40s, and she's starting her own show, and it's going to be on Prime. So what are you going to do when you're going to push a show? You're going to have something really, 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 really strong. And I've always thought this was horrible. And the WNBA say they lost 40, 50 million bucks last year. I don't know about their accounting. I don't know how they lost that much. Their attendance is so much better last year, so much better this year. I'd like to know how they do it. They're not going to tell me, and I get it. But this should be a huge money-making operation. Should be. Nothing like the NBA. But compared to what it was 5, 6 years ago, you would think they'd be making money. Neither here nor there for the moment. So when she started playing basketball in the early 2000s, her salary was a little over $40,000 a year. At the end, her contract went way up. She made a couple $100,000 plus just from her salary the last 2 years. The women are still underpaid. Now, I've said this for years, and I'm not being political. I'm not. I promise you I'm not, but I'm going to say what President at the time Biden said. He said the women should get equal pay to the men. I thought that was a ridiculous statement, because you're not bringing in the same money. That's not fair. It makes no sense whatsoever. It really doesn't. And, you know, it's a nice thing for women to get behind. Oh, that's great. But with Caitlin Clark coming in, there's no question that they deserve a lot more money, because they're having some sellouts and stuff like that. I mentioned about a month ago in Minnesota, and I was shocked by this. And I looked it up a couple different times. The Lynx average ticket, this was about a month or so ago, was $107. What? And in some of the places, the attendance is really good, and the game has improved tremendously, and that's great. It's great. And Caitlin Clark is so underpaid for what she's done for the league. It's ridiculous. Be that as it may, there have been problems going to Russia to play basketball. I can't imagine 1% of the professional athletes, the women who went to Russia, wanted to go. The problem was they were making so much money in Russia and so little money in America that they didn't have a choice. It's got to be lonely. Being away from your family has to be eerie. You have to wonder if you're being tracked. You have to wonder if there are bugs. Seriously. It's cold. So this is a little clip that they're pushing on purpose to promote the show on Amazon. And remember, she is one of the greatest athletes in the last 20, 25 years. Think about it. Has what she's done that far different from LeBron? I mean, think about it. You say, oh, it's just women's basketball. I'm sorry. You're competing against who you compete against. You can make the same cases. Babe Ruth's records aren't the same because he didn't play against African Americans. You could make that case. You're playing who you play against. I'm taking nothing away from Babe Ruth. Would I've liked to see Mr. Gibson, one of the greatest catchers, one of the top 3 catchers of all time, play against the Babe Ruths of the world? Absolutely. It didn't happen. You can only go against who you go against. On that basis, and Jimmy, I wonder if you agree, Taurasi is one of the greatest athletes in the last 20, 30 years. I mean, I don't know what she spent to keep her body in shape. LeBron spends 7 figures a year plus to keep his body in shape. Anyway, so this is the tease for her show, and listen to it carefully. And you know what I like? The anger that she has felt for years, it's like she couldn't display it or she didn't have her own audience. She's going to have her own show. And I bet the show does pretty well. So this is a tease for the show, and the anger she has about what she had to do and the conditions of a professional basketball player who happens to be a female, not a man.
I'm the best player in the world, and I have to go to a communist country to get paid like a capitalist.
Playing in Europe during the WNBA's offseason, these women were going for 7 or 8 months. They were chasing their value.
One time I came back and I was like, man, my parents have just gotten older, and I've missed a big part of it. We weren't making that much money, so generational wealth was coming from going to Russia every year. Now we have to come back home and get paid nothing to play in a harder league in worse conditions against the best competition in the world. The janitor at the arena made more than me did.
And by the way, that wasn't bad editing by Jimmy. He had to bleep something. Okay. And I think it's really legitimate. And I'm a little disappointed that she had to do that. I just like she's talking about it because I think a lot of people don't realize it. And I will tune into her show all the time. Don't know. But am I going to check it out? Absolutely. Let's go to Ray Davis. There isn't a Kentucky fan in the world that doesn't love Ray Davis. The story, what he did with homeless and how he's overcome all that and went through a horrendous childhood is off the charts. On top of it, he's just a hell of a running back. Now think about how confident he is. Now he's getting more clock because of James Cook. James Cook is in the last year of his rookie contract. He's a really good runner. He is ahead of Ray Davis. He deserves to be ahead of Ray Davis at this point. He's making $15 million this year, and apparently the stuff I read in the Buffalo area was that the Bills were surprised. He's decided to walk out of camp because he wants a new contract. Okay, it's the normal stuff that goes on in football. And so two things. Davis is going to get the ball more, at least for now. And you would assume, because most of these contracts get settled, that Cook will come back. But here's why we're playing the clip. I thought as the year went on, Davis had a really, 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 really good, let me emphasize, really, really good rookie year. And they really like him in Buffalo, how he stands as a person, what he does in the community, what he does holding onto the ball. There's nothing about Ray Davis not to like. Jimmy, when you hear this soundbite, see if you're with me. No matter what happens with James Cook, one, he's going to play more. And two, Ray Davis is going to be much better this year because that first year and the transition of what you have to go to the NFL, as confident as you are going into the NFL because of what you did in college, it's two different worlds, more so than people think. Here's about a 25-second clip on Ray Davis about why he feels so much more comfortable in year number 2.
Feel more comfortable running the scheme. I think as a rookie last year, I was just so timid. I was worried about making mistakes. I just wanted to be perfect. And, it took a couple conversations with Skip just to, understand, hey, you're here. You proved what you need to prove. Now just slow it down and play football. And when he told me that in the spring, I kind of brought that to camp. And, I can say I feel a lot more comfortable in the run schemes and the pass schemes, picking up blitzes. So all around, just feel like it definitely from year 1 to year 2 was a huge jump.
It will be a huge jump. By the way, I haven't watched it yet, Jimmy, and I've got it taped. I don't know if you're going to do it. But HBO is doing their thing on the Buffalo Bills, right? And apparently they love Max Hairston. And probably they love Deion Walker. And Thurman, one of their top 4 or 5 players of all time, the great running backs, has made the comment to management there going, hey, this Max Hairston, he's really good. You can really pick him. And so you got 3 Kentucky players up there, and they like them all. And this is a compliment to Stoops, and this is a compliment to the players. They show up with the right mental attitude and the right discipline. And the Bills are saying, guess what? The guys that are coming out from this program have what it takes. And I don't think that's a little thing, and I think that's a big thing. And actually, it's one of the reasons why I believe Stoops can turn this around. It's extremely difficult when you slump to turn it around. It is, especially in today's sports society versus 10, 15 years ago. But think of the players that are in the NFL that are liked. There's not a gazillion of them. It's not like it's Georgia or Alabama, but the Bills have latched on to an attitude of these players, their work ethic, how they've been coached, how they trained. So just, put that in the back of your mind, as there are so many players that we don't know how the hell they're going to perform, and we've been saying this forever. I'm cautiously optimistic, and I'm not going to say, with the schedule being so tough, maybe they won't win any more games. Jimmy, you think I've convinced people enough? I don't want to hear about the bad schedule. I don't want to hear about the tough schedule. Vandy has a tough schedule. Kentucky has a tough schedule. Georgia has a tough schedule. Mississippi State has a tough schedule. Tell me I'm wrong about this. People whining and complaining about the schedule, with all due respect, I feel like saying, shut up. I have said that.
Yeah, but you're playing in the SEC, like you mentioned. You're not the only one with a tough schedule. Everyone has to. Florida had the worst of the worst schedules last year, and I'm sure their fans complain, but it's something that just, it is what it is. You can't change it. You're not going to change it. You're never going to change it, especially the way it's going with potentially more in-conference games. Like, there is not going to be an easy game anymore.
I will be surprised if the SEC gives in for that 9th game. I will be surprised. Maybe down the road, but I really agree with their logic. Why the hell do you need it? You're the SEC. So we shall see. But I really, keep in your head, for all of you down on Mark Stoops, think of the toughness and the attitude of Ray Davis, of Hairston, of Walker, and the foundation of them as people. And by the way, I'm not suggesting that, when these guys showed up, that he waved this magic wand and totally changed them and all. No. I am suggesting that these kids came here with some toughness. I'm suggesting that. I am suggesting that in recruiting, UK was able to identify that. I am suggesting that the coaching here helped them grow and develop. There's a lot of I'm suggestings here, and I think it's all positive. And the reason why I'm pushing this, I'm so open-minded to see what happens. I really am, because I think the running game's going to be much better, and I've been saying that for weeks. They got 4 running backs now. Jimmy, I can't remember the last time I said before a season that they had 4 running backs. Actually, it goes back decades, where this was really like tailback you. I mean, there was a point they had 3 guys in the backfield that ended up playing in the NFL, tailbacks. They had trouble finding some space and clock. That was a long time ago. Now, I'm not suggesting these 4 guys are going to go in the NFL. I'm not suggesting it. I am suggesting that they have talent in the backfield. I am suggesting they're going to run the ball a ton. I am suggesting I'm curious to see what the breakdowns are running left behind the 2 transfers from Arkansas and New Mexico State. I'm suggesting that. Because of that, I want to go into Seth McCowan. Now, I think everybody knows or has heard the story that, he went to jail and was facing a charge that could have gotten him 70 years. And he thought he would never play football again. And he got a break. And I do believe in people getting a break, especially the first time. And there had to be times when he was in jail, he thought, I will never, ever get this opportunity again. And it sure seems like he's appreciative. And I said this quite a long time ago, before these comments about him came out, that I trusted Stoops and his staff doing the research to say that this kid deserves another chance. And by the way, a kid can deserve a second chance and do all the right work, and it fails. Okay? It can fail. But you look at this kid and you look at Stoops and the phone calls and his brother and Bulwer, who was at Oklahoma and recruited him, and they kept in contact and stuff like that. Jimmy, I look at this Seth McCowan kid. By the way, he looks like he's about 27, 28 years old. Doesn't he? He's had a hard life. One of the things I like about him, this will sound silly, he's got a thick neck. A tailback with a thick neck. Does that sound silly? He does. He's got a thick neck.
Yeah, I feel like with football, that is a trait that you look at with certain positions, running back, linebacker, those type. Like you look like you can take and dish out more punishment.
You can take it in the head when you get hit.
Yeah.
I'm not saying he's got the thickest neck I've ever seen for a tailback, not a fullback. There were some fullbacks in the good old days that had necks were like kind of ridiculous. This is not that era. Anyway, he really looks like he's 27 and 28, and he wants to help others, and he wants to do the right thing. I think it's really cool that he and Big Pete are close and good friends because they were both at New Mexico State. So let's deal with the obvious. Clip number 1, why Kentucky?
I got some connections here from just back in the day, and, you know, me and Boo were really close. He kept up with me, you know, when football wasn't even a reality for me at one point. So, you know, that mean a lot, and just to step into a program, step under some coaching that's going to, you know, help elevate my game, you know, get me prepared for the next level while, you know, it's such a rich culture here so far as, you know, what they've been able to do on the ground, and, you know, how they kind of lean behind their running backs. And so, you know, that's just something that, you know, I wanted to be a part of so bad.
I like how he said lean behind the running backs. Wink, wink. He knows they're going to run the ball a ton. Okay. And little things. So Kentucky sucked on like 3rd and 1 and 3rd and 2 last year. I think everybody knows that. And I've mentioned this before, but one of the first things that Stoops said when he got here 1,000 years ago, it seems like it, and if he's listening, he's probably laughing. I'm sure he's not listening, that you have to be able to run the ball when everybody in the stadium knows it's 3rd and 1, and you're going to run the ball, and you have to be able to make it. I don't know about you, but I had no confidence last year that was 3rd and 1 and everybody knew you could run the ball, that they were going to make it. I lost that. When Benny Snell was here, I thought they would make it. Okay? Totally lost it. And think of the play calling. So let's say you got 2nd and 3. Are you more apt to try a pass that you wouldn't have tried last year because last year maybe it's 2nd 3 and you say, oh my gosh, we better run the ball 2 times because maybe we can get 3 yards with 2 attempts and that kind of stuff. And how many times did it not work? I don't have the numbers, but you know what I'm talking about. Now, even though they're going to be run heavy, which is Mark Stoops' persona and his mantra and how he feels, can you at times maybe toss the ball 20 yards downfield or a little bit further because you know at 3rd and 3 you might have a running back who can get it? The confidence of doing 3rd and 1 and 3rd and 2 and 3rd and 3 is huge when it comes to play calling. And I'm going to be fascinated to see, I got in the back of my head, if they are successful running the ball, can they do some things on 2nd down that they might not have done last year? And by the way, he'll never admit it, but I know this is true. Bush Hamden had to change how he wanted to call stuff because of the lack of an offensive line last year. He couldn't do what he wanted to do. It's not the first coach this happened to. I don't think I'll ever say it. I know it. I don't think it. I know it. Okay, clip number 2. Talking about adjusting from, Oklahoma, jail, New Mexico State, now at the University of Kentucky.
Yeah, no, it's been relatively smooth. Like, got a, real pro style offense, nothing that I'm new to. So, Coach Hamden, he real cool. He real cool with the guys. He's a smooth dude. So, he young, but he's super smart. And, he able to really kind of put things in a picture, really get us to schematically understand things that ultimately be the reflection on whether we're successful or not in the offense.
Hey, Jimmy, how many times have you heard a player call a coach real cool?
It's a good compliment if you're the coach.
Absolutely. And then in the same soundbite, talk about schematically. I mean, this kid is really hitting the spectrum. I really like it. Can you feel his intensity, or is it me, or you think I'm trying to feel his intensity? I can feel his intensity in his soundbites.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, I'm watching his highlights from the time at Oklahoma and then New Mexico State. He runs intense. He runs angry. The pile does not stop. Any time that I've seen any of his plays, the pile doesn't stop. It moves forward when he goes. He runs angry. He doesn't have breakaway speed, but he is a strong runner.
Yes, he is. I think we can grab one or two before taking the break, and then Brandon Ramsey will join us at 12:30, and Chip Rupp will be at 1 o'clock. A little bit more about who you are, clip number 3, as a player.
Just a lot of passion, like nothing but passion, nothing but pure intent, and will to win and dominate. Like, I'm a very serious dude just when it comes to, what I'm doing, and you know, it's been like he said, it's just been a journey here. You know, it's been a lot of things that I'm running behind. So, you know, they can expect a lot, for sure.
How about that? I'm a real serious dude. You buy that?
He sounds like it. He's all business.
He is all business. I think it's terrific. And Big Pete talks about how he can't wait to open up holes for him. I'm excited. Let's see what they can do. Hey, my suggestion to you is you see what Quantrill Volvo, Quantrill Cadillac, Quantrill Subaru can do. It's a great car dealership. They have stood the test of time. They've been around forever. Mark Rao, general manager, friend. We've purchased 2 cars from going back over a decade. I trust them. I trust them not a little, but I trust them a lot. The Subaru, feel the warmth and spread and the love in a brand new Subaru from Quantrill Subaru. The Cadillac, check it out. The American symbol of elegant horsepower. The Volvo, check it out. It is beautiful as far as taking trips and going on the road forever and reliable. When I was a kid, the word was a Volvo was a car that would last forever. That has not changed. It'll help your summer experience on a road trip. The Quantrill family, Quantrill Volvo, Quantrill Cadillac, Quantrill Subaru. Check them out. Say Alan Cutler said, come on down, Alan Cutler, 1300 AM, 92.5 FM.
No Filter Radio with Alan Cutler, brought to you by Quantrill Auto Group. QuantrellForLife.com.
Hi, this is Alan Cutler. Have a no-filter comment? Hit the text line, 859-381-1313. 859-381-1313. Lexington, it's time to feel the warmth and spread the love in a brand new Subaru from Quantrill Subaru. This is Alan Cutler, and you can feel good about working with the Quantrill family for your next Subaru because not only do we get the best in sales, service, and no gimmicks, but for decades, the Quantrill family of dealerships has donated to over 50 local charities and events. So play as hard as you work, go where you've never been, and keep it local at Quantrill Subaru. QuantrillSubaru.com.
Houchins Insurance Group is proud to partner with Auto Owners Insurance, a company that provides opportunity for independent agents to make insurance simple for their clients, offering risk management services that range from a renter's policy for your college student to home and auto coverage for your entire family. Houchins Insurance Group assures you that nobody works harder to keep you protected from life's uncertainties. Reach out to AJ Boss or Zach Bennett at 859-263-2771 to see if Auto Owners Insurance makes sense for you.
Hi, this is Patrick DiGiacomo, and this is why I would recommend Republic Bank. So, when the bank manager brought me over just to show me how their ITM works, he hit this button where an actual live person came on the screen, and she was so kind and helpful, and it just made me feel like, wow, I'm not dealing with just a machine, I'm dealing with somebody that's actually paying attention to what I'm doing, and it made me feel really good.
And that's how Republic Bank helps their customers go from living to thriving. Learn more at republicbank.com. Member FDIC.
It's summertime, and that means it's time to hit the road. Whether you're heading across town or across the state, going on a picnic, to a baseball game, or driving to the lake, stop by, fill up, and stock up at Clark's Pump and Shop, your road trip headquarters.
Clark's Pump and Shop has everything you need to get you to your summertime destination, including assorted Jolly Rancher or Twizzler peg bags, 2 for $5, and Jack Link's 2-ounce steak strip or extra large beef and cheese, 2 for $6.
Clark's Pump and Shop, return, refresh, refuel.
Back to No Filter Radio with Alan Cutler. Podcasts on Apple, Spotify, and Google, Monday through Friday.
Welcome back. Alan Cutler, 1300 AM, 92.5 FM. Thank goodness I didn't have to make my living as a technical person. My family would have starved. We do this on Zoom. There have been some difficulties. We started a little late. I apologize, but we're rolling now, and let's roll with a man I have a tremendous respect for. He's got all kinds of things going on. He's a basketball guru as a young guy. Brandon Ramsey. Brandon, are you there?
I'm here, Alan. Thanks for having me on again.
Good. Haven't talked to you in a while. It's been a little quiet on this end outside the TEAM. You got all kinds of Cincinnati garb on today. You going to a Reds game or something?
I'm in Pittsburgh. I'm heading to the Reds game tonight. Yes, sir.
Wait a second. I am really jealous. You're going to watch Paul Skeens pitch tonight?
I am, yes.
Wow.
Which, as a Reds fan, I kind of wish he wasn't pitching, but as a baseball fan, I am excited to see him.
Oh, man, you can't get this opportunity every day. And besides, how many times does he give up 1 run or no runs after 6 innings? He gets no decisions. You know that old line where a pitcher could sue his team for lack of support?
Yes. Yeah.
That's him. It was Nolan Ryan forever. Nolan Ryan should have won about at least 60 more games. I can't tell you how many 2-1 games he lost, 3-2 games. It's like when Nolan Ryan got on the round, team says, he's not going to give up any runs, so we won't do anything. I wonder in the history of baseball if anybody who had as many starts as Nolan Ryan got such little support. And Skeens in his short career has to be up there. So you going just to see Skeens, or you had this all planned?
Yeah, we planned it probably a month or so ago, and just kind of worked out that Skeens was pitching. But yeah, I always PNC Park's one of the best in the business, so I always enjoy getting out to a game. And obviously, I'm a Reds fan, so wanted to make the trip when they were here.
So do you take crap wearing Cincinnati garb in the stands in Pittsburgh?
I haven't before. I came to a Reds game here last year as well. Everybody's been pretty nice. It seems like most of the Pittsburgh fans are pretty fed up with their own team, so they don't really have time to yell at the opponents.
Yeah, I'm amazed that their general manager has survived. And actually, to tell you the truth, I thought it was a really good hire, but they've done a horrendous job in that organization, giving away players that end up being really good, keeping the wrong players. Who's ever also picking their players in the draft, basically they're really horrendous. I mean, besides the fact that they don't spend any money, but that's a beautiful park. It's just a beautiful park, and the people in Pittsburgh they deserve better. Actually, Mark Cuban, wanted to buy the team, but they didn't want to sell. If Mark Cuban owned that team, I'm not saying the Pittsburgh Pirates would win World Series, but all of a sudden their salary structure would change tremendously, and a lot of players they'd have to give away wouldn't do well. The other problem is, for example, Milwaukee's got the best record in baseball. They are right now better than Tampa Bay when it comes to trading players early and getting really good stuff back. They stole this guy Durbin from the Yankees, who I loved. I said it at the time. I really didn't want to give him up. So what do? They have patience. They stick him at third base. He was batting around 200. Now all of a sudden he's batting a lot higher, and he's become one of the really good guys. And they weren't going to pay their shortstop. He goes to San Francisco for $180 million or something like that. Adames, a really good player, but they got this young guy Ortiz who's really good. Not as good as Adames, but they really fill in players. Yeah. And so when they trade somebody, almost all the time they get something really good back, which is the key of making these kinds of trades. And Pittsburgh, man, they just suck at it. Can I say suck? Did he hit a bell? I just said suck. You got good seats for tonight?
Yeah. We'll be a little ways behind home plate, down in the lower level, and should be good.
What did it cost you for a ticket? A little ways beyond home plate.
$66.
But you know what? Today's world, if you're going to go, that's cheap, actually.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and these are really like it's similar to like the scout seats in Cincinnati. So like, yeah, they're really good seats.
Huh? You going to watch all weekend? Or you just going for tonight?
Just tonight.
So you're going to go to Pamani's and eat, right? Isn't that what it's called? Panani Brothers?
Pamani Brothers. Yeah. I went there last year. I don't know. We have reservations somewhere else. I don't think we're going to hit there this trip, but it was really good. It's a must stop if you've never been before. That's for sure.
Biggest sandwich you've ever eaten?
I would say that's safe. Yes. Yeah. It's a big one.
And I would suggest if you ate it 10 days in a row, you might as well just go to the hospital because you're going to have a heart attack, right?
Probably so. Yeah. That's one you probably shouldn't eat too often.
Right. I don't eat that kind of food anymore. But if I was in Pittsburgh and somebody said we wanted to go, would I go and eat it? Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay. So this time of year in basketball, what do you see as far as relating to Kentucky that's out there when it comes to recruiting? The feeling, how it's changed since Pope has started, how you think he's doing with his young kids, and plus to talk about the young man from initially Louisville, who's the best player in the country. Talk about this young man, and I saw one report which said Kentucky is now leading not Louisville and that Arkansas is in there.
Yeah, I think with Tyron Stokes, he is the de facto best player in the 2026 class. It's not the best class that's come through in the last handful of years, but he is definitely the prize of the class. I mean, he's a 6'7", 220-pound, just physical specimen on the wing. He's a good and willing passer. He's not selfish on the court, and he can really score because he just physically dominates a lot of his peers, and he's physically dominant enough that a lot of those things honestly will still translate to the highest levels of college basketball. But I think with the recruiting wins with him. I mean, I was out at Peach Jam where a lot of the talk was very, very positive for Kentucky. People seem to think that Coach Pope and the staff are in a really good position for him. I think that just kind of personality wise, the way that Coach Pope is, and he's kind of a more, he's a thoughtful guy. He's a kind of a basketball nerd, X's and O's sort of guy, probably more so than the guy that's gonna grab you by the shirt collar and scream in your face. And it seems like that kind of fits what Tyron Stokes is looking for, somebody that he can kind of sit down in the film room and connect with on a basketball level, as opposed to having that kind of hard-nosed, kind of get in your grill sort of guy. And I think that also with the Louisville thing, from everything that I've heard and people that know more than I do, people what they've said is that Nike is going to have a hand in this recruitment with Tyron being the number one prize in 2026. He's also kind of the face of Nike in that high school class. And I think obviously with Louisville being an Adidas school, that could, it doesn't necessarily pose a problem, but I just think that with what Tyron wants from a marketing standpoint and an NIL standpoint, and probably what some of the people around Tyron want him to be, I think that Nike schools are inherently going to have at least an initial leg up in the recruitment.
How often, and this has been going on for quite a long time, does the sneaker company in reality make the final decision for the player because of the money, 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 money?
Yeah, I think that, for any given class, if you take the top couple Nike players and the top couple Adidas players, I think that, yeah, it's pretty realistic that maybe not necessarily the absolute end all be all final decision, but are they very, very heavily involved in the process? Are they very, very kind of forward in terms of steering players in one direction or the other? Absolutely. And in this class, like I said, the kind of the star of the Nike class is absolutely Tyron Stokes. And, we've seen it in the past, like that there's been Adidas kids that end up at Nike schools. I mean, heck, Cooper Flagg was, I believe, signed with New Balance, and he ended up at Duke. So, these things happen in every class, but certainly, like I said, it's certainly a leg up on the front end, I would say, to be recruiting a Nike kid as a Nike school. So I think that in and of itself, beyond even the relationship that Coach Pope and the staff have built with Tyron and the people around him, I do think that the shoe company connections, and certainly Kentucky being one of the prominent, if not the prominent Nike program, it matters in this recruitment. Absolutely.
So look, maybe I have no idea where JQ is when it comes to the rehab of his knee. He's kept it really close to the vets. Mm-hmm. They've been very smart how they've kept it close to the vets. So the other day, I'm sure you saw it, he's in flip flops and he dunks, that kind of stuff, and people are freaking out. I shouldn't be doing it, but that's the fear of the unknown. I mean, maybe it's okay for him to do that. Maybe it's not. I mean, I don't know. Oh, he shouldn't be doing that in flip-flops and stuff like that. Oh, my gosh, the overreaction without having any knowledge at times drives me a little crazy. I'm not ripping fans, but I get, oh, no. So You know how healthy it is. Does that bother you? My thing is, if he's okay to do it, that's fine. If not, he shouldn't be doing it. But I'm not going to freak out over something without any information at all. Do you have any information, or do you think people are overreacting? You think I'm overreacting to the people who are overreacting because I don't think they should overact because it's the fear of the unknown. Maybe he's doing this anyway. Oh my gosh, he's wearing flip flops. Oh my gosh, what do you want him to do? Wear 2 boots all the time?
Yeah, I think people are overreacting to it. I have absolutely no inside working knowledge of where he's at in that process, other than just, I coached basketball. I coached guys that had knee injuries. I was a part of their rehab process and, spending time with them. And I will say when I just look at him, whether it's, practice clips, watching him move around, whether it's the now somewhat infamous flip-flop dunk, he looks like a guy that is certainly becoming healthier. He doesn't look like a guy that's limping around or needs this massive knee brace or anything like that. And I think I would remind people of a couple of things. One, he's 18 years old. He's going to recover from a knee injury a little bit differently than, you or I or a lot of other people on the message boards would. Secondly, he's an elite level athlete. That's going to make him recover from this differently than you and I and a lot of people on the message boards. And also, he's 6'9" and everything that I just said. So like for him, like the exertion that it takes for him to dunk in flip-flops isn't exactly all that extreme. So like I don't think that video is a big deal. I don't think that it means he's further along necessarily in the process. I don't think it means that he's going to re-injure himself. However, I probably am cautiously optimistic that he's going to be ready sooner rather than later. I believe it was Jack Pilgrim from KSR, one of my good friends, who mentioned that maybe some of the agents and the people around him are pushing for a more cautious approach that would put it more at the first of the year, whereas JQ is maybe wanting to be a little bit more aggressive, and it would be closer to December 1st or even, the start of the season. So we'll kind of see how things play out there. But personally, I am, cautiously optimistic that regardless of when we see him, I do think that this rehab is going very well and probably is ahead of speed for what the normal process would be.
And that was good reporting by Jack Pilgrim. So I'm glad you pointed that out. It's not unusual for the agents and stuff to be cautious. Mm-hmm. And I got to tell you, from a step back point of view, I would deal with caution too, because it's pretty simple. Let's be part selfish here. If you're a Kentucky fan, let's say he really could go. I'm coming up with nebulous dates. We have no facts. I'm doing it for the conversation. Let's say he could play, a couple weeks before Christmas. Okay. Now the first game back, even though it might be energy, emotion, adrenaline, he might play great. And then it might have a couple games where the world comes in and you have to get back in game shape. As you know, you can do all the walking in a swimming pool, all the weights, all of this, all of that. And that's great. But there's also game shape. So he'll be in shape, not game shape, and that'll happen. My thing is, let's say it was supposed to be December 1st. I would caution and say January 1st. And here's the reason why. One, it's another month. Two, you have to consider this kid's future. It's not just Kentucky. This kid's future. Plus, guess what? Future recruits need to know that you were cautious and you push cautious. And on top of it, whatever the doctor said, you listen to. You got to take a big picture of this thing. What's best for the young man is number one. And two, to be a little selfish here, if you're a 16-year-old kid, you're going to watch and see that anybody push you and stuff like that when you shouldn't be pushed. You can't negate that. And three, let's say it was supposed to be December 1st and you do January 1st. Well, he's not going to be in game shape in 5 days. But if he's in game shape by the end of January, I mean in real game shape, where he can play, 22, 25 minutes a game. He ain't playing 38 minutes a game, you wouldn't think. Not in this system anyway. But if he could do that, then he's just fine for the NCAA tournament. So to me, caution should be absolutely unequivocally the number one thing.
Yeah, and I completely agree with you because you hit on a lot of the points. You want those future 5-star, future NBA player recruits to see that you're not forcing these guys back ahead of schedule or putting them in a precarious situation. And obviously, we all want him on the court because he arguably is the best defender, especially on the interior in college basketball. This is a guy that if he had the full season, he would compete to be the National Defensive Player of the Year, in my opinion, and he would put up, borderline all SEC numbers, I think. So, everybody's going to want him out there sooner rather than later. And I think that he has some motivation, certainly, to get healthy and be on the floor too, because for him to be that top 5 lottery pick that he wants to be and certainly can be, he's going to have to play and prove that he can completely return to what he was pre-injury. So that's why I'm fine with probably being more cautious. Like, this isn't going to turn in, knock on wood, to a Shaden Sharp type situation where you kind of get used for, rehab and training and all this kind of stuff. Like, Jaden Quainitz needs to play college basketball this year to achieve some of the goals that he wants to achieve. So I think he'll be back and he'll be 100% of his former self. It's just a question of when that comes, and I think that we all have to be okay with having a little patience, as you said, because as long as he's out there and ready for, as many of the 18 SEC games as he can be ready for in the SEC tournament and the NCAA tournament, ultimately that's what matters. And I think it'd be really valuable for some guys, whether it's Brandon Garrison or Malachi Moreno or Yelovich or any of these other guys, like, for them to get some additional minutes before Quaintance gets in the lineup. You'll reap some benefits from that down the road too. So I don't think there's anything wrong with having some caution when it comes to bringing him back.
Now, we did this a few weeks ago, and I don't really push it, but I'm watching you now on YouTube on the ESPN Sports Radio 1300 AM, which is a little delay when it comes to that. Your Cincinnati garb looks really good. Is that an old hat, or did you buy the new hat old?
It's a new old hat. Yes, yeah. It's one of them that
cool,
you buy
by the
that
way.
looks. Yeah, I like it.
Yeah. No, it's cool. It looks like, the brim looks new, so that kind of gives it away. But it looks like maybe your father handed it down to you or something like
right.
that. It's a cool looking hat. You touched on something that I think you and I are going to disagree with, which is a beautiful thing. Do you really think Shaden Sharp came here with the notion to use Calipari?
No, I don't think he walked in with that being the idea. Now, did it play out in that manner? Maybe a little bit, and I don't mean that to say that there was necessarily even anything nefarious on his side yet, and that he was intentionally kind of sitting out and just kind of using Kentucky as a training ground. I more so just kind of meant that, for all intents and purposes, that's what it turned out to be. That obviously we never saw him on the court. He was able to, have all the bells and whistles of a blue blood, training staff and be in the practices and all that. And obviously, I mean, heck, it's worked out for him. He's gone on and had a pretty solid young NBA career. But I don't believe that you're going to be in that situation for Jaden Quaintance, just because, Shaden Sharp didn't really need to play in order to get that lottery pick status. I think that Jaden Quaintance is going to need to play in order for that to be the case for him.
And I agree with you. I think if Shaden Sharp had to play to get the lottery status, and he ended up dropping more than I think he thought, and not playing, I thought, hurt him. But of course, playing, had he not played well, would have also hurt him. I think it is two different situations. See, I don't think he came here to use Kentucky. I think at a certain point, his people, whether it was his agent or father, said, no. I think they pulled the plug on him. By the way, he hasn't gotten his second contract yet, which is interesting, and he could have got it. And so they're kind of holding out. His numbers are pretty good in Portland, but Chauncey Billups didn't like his defense, and he yanked him from the starting lineup and told him he needed to get better. It's interesting. Portland's been a really lousy team, and they're rebuilding and all that kind of stuff. And he lit a fire underneath him, said, okay, you know what? I'm not giving you this. We're going to start playing some defense, and Portland's not going to make it in the playoffs this year, but they have improved, I think, a lot, not good enough. And so he's at a crossroads. I mean, he could have gotten a $152 million, $200 million contract, and they don't want to give it to him. His numbers offensively are pretty good, but he's not worth it. And, more and more of these guys are not going to get the contracts that they want. Woe is me. Now, if he plays well this year, he'll get a contract, but he's not going to get what he should have gotten. No, I don't think he came here with that purpose, and I know some Kentucky fans think that, and I could be wrong, but I think it definitely switched. And now he has told people that he really wanted to play, but he couldn't. Now, who knows what the story is? Neither here nor there. I was just kind of curious when it comes to that. Okay, so when it comes to Owe in a boot, has a toe problem. And, this is negative now. The first toe I thought of, this is before your time. You do know who Dizzy Dean was, right?
Yes, I've heard the name.
Dizzy Dean, one of the great pitchers of all time, who broke his toe, pitched through it because that's what guys did back then, and then was never the same. And why I thought of that, I'm not trying to put fear or caution in any Kentucky fan's heart. Maybe it's me with being baseball geek that I am and that kind of stuff. But the way he was walking, from the little I saw, seemed fine. It really doesn't concern me. As you know, one, we don't know, and people walk around in boots. They're so cautious putting guys in boots all the time. It's not even funny. So at this point, I know there are some fans going, at this point, there's nothing to be concerned about without knowing more. Wouldn't you agree?
Correct. Yeah, it's August. The games don't start until November, and yeah, especially with these prized assets, these high level athletes, you're going to be overly cautious. I mean, heck, there were instances when I was coaching where we would have guys wear a boot to class and then they would practice that afternoon. Like it doesn't mean that anything's necessarily wrong with you. It means that, you were a little banged up. There's no reason to not be, cautious when you can be cautious, but then you take it out, you take it off and you strap them up and you go play. So yeah, I don't think that the fact that Otega Owe is wearing a boot in early August even means that he wouldn't practice if there was a practice today. It just means there's no reason for him to not walk around in the boot because he doesn't have anything else to do right now.
John Rothstein, I have a tremendous respect for. I'm assuming you do too. Yeah. He knows more about his top 10 listing than I'm ever going to know. Don't want to know. Really don't, because his research is unbelievable and he gets more coaches to do his podcast. He and Goodman are the two guys that get everybody they want, so it seems, on their podcast. So I'm not ripping. There's not a negative tone in my body. One, I continued to say, and I've done this for a long time with guys coming back, the quality of basketball in college has never been this good when it comes to being deep. It's not going to change with these guys making all this money versus going to the NBA and being a G League or those kinds of things, or I don't want to be a second rounder. I want this whole thing. College basketball is older, and I think it's so much better. But I'm a little surprised that Kentucky doesn't make his, again, he puts it out every week, way too early top 10 list. And does that mean, as much as I like Kentucky, and I'm not saying it because I sit in Lexington, Kentucky, but I think I know this roster really well, and as much as I like him, does that mean that there really are 10, 12, 14 teams that might be better than Kentucky? Is it really that deep, or is Rothstein wrong? And I'm not apt to call him wrong because he knows about guys that I'm not going to know about in depth.
Yeah, I think that, I don't know exactly where he has Kentucky slotted. I'm sure it's not
in the top 10.
Yeah, well, yeah, right, but I'm sure it's not far beyond the top 10. So, I think that, if we're arguing that they should be 8th and he's saying they're 11th or 12th, that probably means we agree as much as we disagree a lot of times when it comes to rankings.
Sure.
Just because you're just kind of drawing at straws in between some of these teams. But I think it's tough to not have this team in a preseason top 10 because of, in my opinion, you have enough known commodities with Otega Owe coming back as an all-SEC guy. You have Denzel Aberdeen and Mo Diabate, who are obviously proven high-level contributors on very, very good SEC teams. So that gives you 3 guys where you pretty much know exactly what you're going to get. And then Jalen Lowe, he was an all-conference guy at Pittsburgh. Is that the same as being an all-conference guy in what the SEC is now? No, but I feel pretty confident that he's at least going to be a very good playmaker for this team. Once Jaden Quaynitz is healthy, like we know that he's one of the best interior defenders in college basketball. And then once you get beyond that, and this is something I've talked about quite a bit this offseason, is I think that the luxury that Kentucky has is that then that next group of 5 guys or so, you really only need a couple of them to like really take a step forward for Kentucky to be really darn good. Like if Colin Chandler makes the sophomore leap that we all think he can, that's huge. If Brandon Garrison really improves in his second year in Lexington, that's huge. If Jasper Johnson becomes, a star freshman that it sounds like he might be able to become, that's huge. If Yelovich comes over after having a couple of years of pro experience, if he's a really, if he's a future NBA type of guy, that's huge. You don't really need all four of those things to happen. You really only need a couple of those guys to reach that level. And I think that's a luxury for Kentucky where you have so many pieces. They don't all have to hit home runs. You need a couple of them probably to hit home runs this year in order to be a top 10 team, a Final Four contender, all that. But you don't need everyone to be 100% of their best self. And I think that's a really good place to be in going into a season.
Having fun this summer?
Absolutely. Yeah, it's been a good summer. And here in August, it's my 1 month where I'm out of the gym more than I'm in it, probably. So getting a little bit of vacation time in and enjoying the weather and all that good stuff.
Well, I'm jealous as blank that you're going to be in Pittsburgh tonight to watching Paul Skeens. Game starts at 6:40. Every pitch, of course, on 1300 AM, 92.5 FM. Have a cold, tall one for me tonight in the stands. Brandon, appreciate your really good knowledge and thanks as always. And give a great plug for yourself, please.
Absolutely. Thanks, Alan. Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at BRamseyKSR. That's the best place to stay up to date with everything that I'm doing. All the written work goes on KentuckySportsRadio.com, part of the On3 Sports Network. Also have brought back the Brandon Ramsey College Basketball Show on YouTube this week, so you can go catch that, subscribe. Again, that's the Brandon Ramsey College Basketball Show on YouTube. And again, it's at BRamseyKSR on Twitter.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you. Enjoy the game tonight.
Yes, will do. Thanks, Alan.
Thanks, man. He's wonderful. Brandon Ramsey. I'm so jealous. I can't believe how jealous I am. He's in Pittsburgh, Jimmy, to watch Skeens pitch tonight.
And I have heard that stadium is incredible. Just the whole setup of it right there on the river, all of it. It's one of the better scenes in sports for baseball.
It's a beautiful background. It really is. And when I worked at KDK, you literally could walk across the bridge and go to the game. And especially with parking, you might as well park where you had to park with KDKA instead of reparking a second time. And on a nice night, it's a lovely, lovely walk. I'm not going to call Chip Rupp lovely. I will call him a good buddy and a really good guest. And that's coming up next. Don't forget about our friends at Blue Lotus Health, 859-533-0914, 859-533-0914. Now also providing a licensed massage therapist. Acupuncture. Ramon Carriega, please use my name on Versailles Road, Blue Lotus Health. You are worth it to try to do everything you can to stay as healthy as you can. And even if you had some issues and you're feeling better, well, to me, this is also to keep your health and improve your health with what he can do with the needles. It's a wonderful thing. It's fascinating. It's different, but it's special. Blue Lotus Health, 859-533-0914. Alan Cutler, live anywhere in the world on the ESPN Sports Lexington app. We'll be right back.
No Filter Radio with Alan Cutler, brought to you by Quantrell Auto Group. QuantrellForLife.com.
Hi, this is Alan Cutler. Have a no-filter comment? Hit the text line, 859-381-1313. 859-381-1313.
It's summertime, and that means it's time to hit the road. Whether you're heading across town or across the state, going on a picnic, to a baseball game, or driving to the lake, stop by, fill up, and stock up at Clark's Pump and Shop, your road trip headquarters.
Clark's Pump and Shop has everything you need to get you to your summertime destination, including assorted Milky Way, Snickers, or Twix share-size candy bars, 2 for $4, and Combo's 5-ounce bags, 2 for $5.
Clark's Pump and Shop. Return, refresh, refuel.
Lexington, it's time to feel the warmth and spread the love in a brand new Subaru from Quantrell Subaru. This is Alan Cutler, and you can feel good about working with the Quantrell family through your next Subaru, because not only do we get the best in sales, service, and no gimmicks, but for decades, the Quantrell family of dealerships has donated to over 50 local charities and events. So, play as hard as you work. Go where you've never been, and keep it local at Quantrell Subaru. QuantrellSubaru.com.
Houchins Insurance Group is proud to partner with Auto Owners Insurance, a company that provides opportunity for independent agents to make insurance simple for their clients, offering risk management services that range from a renter's policy for your college student to home and auto coverage for your entire family. Houchins Insurance Group assures you that nobody works harder to keep you protected from life's uncertainties.
Reach out to AJ Boss or Zach Bennett at 859-263-2771 to see if Auto Owners Insurance makes sense for you.
Hi, this is Patrick DiGiacomo, and this is why I would recommend Republic Bank. So, when the bank manager brought me over just to show me how their ITM works, he hit this button where an actual live person came on the screen, and she was so kind and helpful, and it just made me feel like, wow, I'm not dealing with just a machine, I'm dealing with somebody that's actually paying attention to what I'm doing, and it made me feel really good.
And that's how Republic Bank helps their customers go from living to thriving. Learn more at republicbank.com. Member FDIC.
W223CV Lexington. ESPN Sports Radio 1300 and 92.5, WLXG Lexington, and LM Communications Broadcasting Station. The only no-filter sports show in Kentucky. It's the Alan Cutler Show with award-winning TV sportscaster Alan Cutler.
They count how many you miss or you make throughout the day, and if you don't get 100%, there's a punishment behind it. What's the punishment for us? You just got to do a lot of closeouts and contests.
Have you felt the progression of that throughout the summer?
I feel like I've gotten better as the weeks went by with that. Especially, I didn't start off that well with that, but I'm getting there.
What are some other areas that you think you've really excelled at or progressed along as the practices have gone on?
My shooting percentages have gone up a great amount over the past couple of weeks. So I'll say that, and then rebounding.
Welcome back. Alan Cutler, 1300 AM, 92.5 FM. I want to make Chip Rupp smile. That's Brandon Hawthorne. That bite's probably a couple weeks old, just to be honest about it. I think it's still apropos. And Chip, they're pushing defense. Chip, I can't wait to see this kid about 15 pounds heavier. And even though we are in the dog days of summer, you can always talk basketball around here. So you got to like what you hear from Brandon Hawthorne, Chip Rupp.
We discussed it last time I was on. First of all, it's great to be on with you again. I love that kid. We're all talking about Jasper and Malachi and the big international kid, but Hawthorne is special, and I know he's getting a lot of comparisons to Tayshaun. I think that's mainly based upon his build and slight physique. And as we've talked about before, I don't know how much muscle or weight that he can pack on, but he seems to be cut of the same mold as a Trent Noah. You look at him and you're like, well, he's gonna be at the end of the bench. He's gonna be sparingly used, and he finds his way on the court. And I think that's what we're going to see in Hawthorne. I don't think he's going to be a guy that's one or two and then done. I think if we can retain him in this world of free agency, I think he's going to have a special career here. I really like what I see in him.
By the way, anybody watching on YouTube, as we're just starting to do it a little bit, and numbers are very, very low, and that's okay, can see Chip's background. I am shocked at your background. When you're getting fancy in your old age, you're pretty technical. You have a New York Yankee background. I see Judge. I see all kinds of players and stuff like that. I thought maybe you'd be your grandfather.
No, I did that for you today. It's one of the new. I'm not very technologically advanced, but I know you're tired of looking at my boring office, so I decided to try a background, and I saw the Yankees, and I know you're a big Yankees fan, so I pulled it up for you.
It's nice. That was really nice. It was very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, the way I've acted today, you're technologically much better than me. Let's put it that way. The summertime, you've watched a little practice and stuff like that. I think their summer practices are about to end. I think it's after today or something like that. And the kids need a break. They need to have a break. You can't do this nonstop. They need to go home, whatever. Maybe some will work out. Maybe some won't. They'll give them instructions. Maybe they'll tell some kids just to chill a little bit because you need to chill as intense it's going to get. That'll be interesting to see how many guys really do work out. And we'll find out if some of these guys were put on plans. How about an eating plan for Hawthorne? Hey, Hawthorne, eat 5,000 calories a day or something like that. But do you get a sense of, from what you saw, of how this summer went for the snippets that you were able to see practice without giving away any trade information, which would get you banned from practice?
Correct. Like I've discussed with you previously, I was incredibly encouraged. Last year, what I saw during the early season workouts, late summer workouts, I thought the team was going to play much faster than they did. We did not see that happen when the regular season got here. However, I think they had to make adjustments, and that speaks a lot to Mark Pope's ability to coach and adjust to the hand that he's dealt. And so, because of injuries and different factors, I don't think they were able to play or had the personnel to play the way that he wanted to last year. I think he does now. And, without divulging too much, I think you're going to see a faster speed of play. I think he's going to have his own brand, but there's also going to be components of it that will resemble what you see out of St. John's and Coach Patino and his previous teams. They're going to play incredibly fast.
Yeah, I think we're going to see what he wanted to do last year, but just couldn't. I mean, there's only so many things you can do. I like this stuff. It's goofy. I'm okay with goofy. Guys get involved because they're hooping and hollering and saying you can do it and you can't do it and that kind of stuff. So Jaden Quaintance put the little thing. He goes live on Instagram and JQ hadn't gotten his license yet. So they put this thing out, and I guess they weren't allowed to show it or whatever for him to go through something to do a little driving test to get him ready. And the whole team is out there and they're goofing around and that kind of stuff. I think it's great. The more stuff you do together, like, hey, one of the guys said, I think you can do it. No, I don't know. I'm not so sure. It's the normal locker room stuff, and they're doing more stuff together. And you can read their body languages. Everybody feels relaxed. Everybody feels comfortable, and they all feel part of it. It's amazing. It's almost like a camp where you're going on a road trip, to do some stuff together. And I mean it. It's like a camp, and the bonding stuff. When you do stuff like that, Kentucky's not the only team doing this and that kind of stuff. But I love this kind of thing. They're hanging out. They're together. They'll go eat later. They're in their flip-flops and jerseys and whatever the heck they want to, but they look really comfortable and they look like they're having fun. And little things like that aren't little to me. They are huge.
I couldn't agree more. The one thing that's really impressed me about Mark Pope is, he assembled a roster last year where the only person that had previously committed was Travis Perry and everyone else was brand new. And when you're bringing people from all different backgrounds, different cultures, it's hard to mold them into a team and make them truly like one another when they're competing feverishly for limited minutes. I mean, it's just really, really hard. And he was able to, I think, successfully do that last year. The one thing that really stood out to me when I went to practice is these kids genuinely like one another. They're battling hard for minutes on the court. And it's hard when you're doing that to really love your fellow man while you're fighting for playing time, but they like one another, top to bottom. The competitive spirit in practice is infectious, and it comes from the coaching staff down. To be in midsummer workouts when it's beautiful outside, you could be wanting to do a lot of other things. They were battling fiercely in there. Every component of practice, there was just incredible energy, great enthusiasm. It was pretty impressive to watch. And then to your last point, I think the team building stuff they're doing. I loved the snippet that was online about Jaden trying to get his driver's license, and they interviewed some of the different players. I think this is a tight knit group, and they're only going to get closer as the year goes on. And I expect a special season out of these guys.
The schedule came out yesterday, as you know, and I'm looking at it. And the first thing I want to look at, when they're playing Arkansas, okay, January 31st. And other than that, maybe I'm being naive. I don't really care. I don't really care if the game's on the road. I mean, you can say it, okay, the games on the road might be a little tougher than the games at home and that kind of stuff, but I don't really care. Point it out, whatever, because you got to play who you got to play. And I think at times too much is made of this. I mean, way too much. The thing that I've always cared about since I got here in the early 80s, I couldn't stand the soft as melted butter preseason schedule. It's finally getting a little tougher. I think Kentucky's been too soft forever. I care about that. Kids don't come you come to Kentucky. You want to play, with all due respect, Transylvania. You want to play tough teams all the time, even if you lose more. I think you'll even attract even better players, and they attract great players. So somebody might say, Cutler, what are you talking about? The players are great. Players, I remember talking to John Wall. He said, I don't want to play those little schools. I want to play the big schools. I think most guys feel that. So I look at, the preseason stuff. You're playing Gonzaga in Nashville. Oh, I think that's great. I think it's great. I don't really want to play North Carolina Central. No disrespect to them. I don't want to do it. I just don't want. So I like the schedule better. I don't love it because, you shouldn't have to play Bellarmine. I'm sorry. I know they're Division I. Okay, like that. I would want a tougher school than that play Cincinnati, not Bellarmine. Maybe Cincinnati doesn't want to come here. I get it. And maybe you don't want to go to Cincinnati because of the money. I get that too. Anyway, the schedule's fine. It's just fine. It's not a big deal to me. I've always been amazed how it's that big of a deal to a lot of people. It's just maybe me.
No, I think the fan base as a whole wants to see a more competitive schedule. I think on one of your other shows, not yours, but on this same station, they refer to it as the Cupcake Factory, and there's a large component of that. And nobody wants to see those. Those are money games for teams that you just have to fill a spot and secure a win for your resume, but they don't really do much to help it. And I think the fans want to see a better non-conference schedule, and hopefully Mark can continue doing that. I did have a discussion with him right after he took the job about the fan base's thirst to go to, a Maui Invitational and play in that again, or Phil Knight's tournament that basically every major program plays in. And he explained to me the economics of it and why it would be a challenge. And I won't do it justice to try to convey it here, but it's basically the economics are the limiting factor of giving away a home game to go play on the road, what it means to the program. But I think he's continuing to challenge Mitch and look for opportunities to continue to bolster the non-conference schedule. And I think that's what the fan base really wants.
I don't think Mitch would stop him from playing tougher teams. For example, I know this for a fact that, there were times Cal didn't want to play a tougher team pre-conference if he had a really young team, that he turned down what I had heard was some pretty good games. But I got to tell you, I have no interest with Kentucky playing Loyola of Maryland or Tennessee Tech, right, or North Carolina Central or Bellarmine. And they've got, I think it's 3 more games to put in. So, that's 3 cupcakes. And you know what? I'll go one step farther, and you're going to disagree, and I know fans will probably disagree. Suppose you play just about everyone on the level of Indiana along those lines. And so that'd be 7 games because, we don't know what the other 3 games are going to be, but there's 4 cupcakes so far. And 7 games along those levels. And let's say you lost, oh my gosh, 2 more games because of it. 2 things. It'd be exciting, more exciting basketball to watch. 2, these kids will be readier, bad grammar, readier for the SEC. 3, it's a lot more exciting. And I get there are times you can't really put someone in a date where it works for you and works for everybody else. But, there's people on the phones all the time sending messages out and stuff like that. There's ways to get it done. I still don't like the schedule, but I like it better than I did about 5 years ago.
So the big challenge with what you're suggesting or proposing is you can pay and get one of those better schools to come and play you here. But if you step it up a notch to the Indiana level, they're going to expect us to return to their home court or a neutral site, which gives up a home game, which is a moneymaker. And that's what when I was referring to economics, it really is about that and nothing more. I think Mark would play a much tougher schedule, but he can't enter into something where he agrees to a home and home because we can't lose the revenue from an additional home game. These cupcakes are happy to come, and because there's no downside for them, they get paid a ton of money. What if they perform better than expected? It just, helps their program, and God forbid they win. That's their Super Bowl. So the challenge is just if you could get somebody to sign up to come in here for a one-time deal and not ask for a game at home in return.
Yeah, I'm going to give you yes or no, and please tell me I'm wrong. I know all that. Let me explain this differently. If it's in Indiana, they want a home and home, or it's somebody like that, and you don't want to go there because of the economics in the road game. I get that. I understand it. I respect it. I respect what Kentucky's doing because they got bills to pay. I get it. But I have always believed, and maybe I'm being naive, there are some schools, let's say out west, okay, who are good schools, or in different parts of the country, or maybe in East, who knows you're not going to go back and play them, who are better than the Tennessee Techs of the world. I think it's out there if you look. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm being naive. But in other words, maybe my Indiana example is wrong, okay? Maybe a step down from Indiana where they know they can't demand a home and home, okay? And if there isn't any and you have to play these cupcakes, then I'm wrong. I just think they're out there, and I could be wrong. That's just me.
Well, and you may be. You may be right. It's way above my pay grade, but I do believe that Mark would be in favor of continuing to bolster the non-conference schedule. And I think you can't just rip the Band-Aid off and fix it all at once. I think we see progress being made, and then next year after next, hopefully he can add a few more quality opponents in the non-conference and get to where we want to be. I will tell you this, I don't know enough about the regulations regarding the tournaments you can play in. Cal always opted for playing in the big venues where the Final Fours are going to be played in these showcase events. You probably remember from your early days, and it at the end, especially under Coach Hall and Eddie Sutton, it became kind of a cupcake tournament. But I think one way you could get those top-notch teams to come in here would be for a one-time tournament event. And so instead of playing like the Bill Kitely Invitational, which is, 3 easy opponents and we all do a round robin kind of showcase, I would love to see if there would ever be a chance to revitalize the UKIT, because there was a time period where some real teams would come in and you'd have back-to-back games. The fans loved it. It was during the holidays. And, if you're willing to spend enough money, you may be able to get 3 quality opponents to come in here to play in a holiday tournament.
And
I don't know if that's feasible nowadays.
Honestly, with the economics, I don't. But the UKIT, a long time ago, was very good. You're absolutely right. And I don't know this, but I wonder if you can get more money for television that way. If you're all of a sudden during the holidays and having these marquee matchups, if there's holes in the TV schedule, I can't answer that. Just throwing it out there. Any concerns about this basketball team before they start practicing, or are you saying, "Oh my gosh, this is so good, it's crazy," and you can't wait for the season to start?
Pretty much there's no reservations. I don't want to set the bar so high that the fan base becomes disenchanted if we, stub our toes a couple games. There's a lot of talent in that gym to be excited about. There's a lot of depth that if we have an injury, we can overcome that, which we couldn't last year. I probably would be a little bit happier and optimistic right now, more optimistic if Otega wasn't in a boot with an injured toe, because those can be problematic, but I'm not at a point where I'm ready to lose my mind over that. But I would like to see him recover sooner than later and get out of that and prove to everyone that he's back at full force, because those can be nagging injuries. And I would hate that to hinder any of our progress. But as I said, we've got a lot of backcourt depth that's exciting, that I'm excited about. Jasper Johnson, I watched him in practice. He doesn't realize that he's a 18-year-old freshman. By going away and playing at a higher level in the last 2 seasons, he's way ahead of the learning curve for a freshman. And so he's ready to step in there and compete if we need him, and he may earn that opportunity whether there's injuries or not. He's a talented kid, and he doesn't see any limitations to his game. So I feel great about it.
He's so mentally tough. The father he has, the grandfather he had, the family tree, mentally tough, besides all the physical gifts that he has. It's just kind of interesting with all the football players in his family. He's a skinny one.
He is, and I heard he was a pretty talented quarterback when he decided to push his chips in with basketball. But his grandfather was a legend. His dad, same thing. The kid's built for this. This stage is not too big for him, And he's not here just as a Kentucky kid or to be a role player. He wants to compete for a starting job. I don't know if that's going to happen right out of the gates. Nor, I will tell you this. You always ask me what, kind of ticks me off. I think there's far too much time spent with people debating, who starts and who doesn't. I mean, the facts are, if you're playing significant minutes and you're playing at the end of the game, when the game is on the line, that's all that matters. It really doesn't matter who starts and who doesn't. And some people are built to start, and others are built to kind of see the flow of the game, get into it from the bench, and then step in and contribute. And so whether, Jasper is one of these guys that's the five that's announced that gets to come off the bench and in the spotlight, or comes in at the 2.5 minutes gone in the game, he's going to contribute. No question.
That's good. Anything else tick you off? I like that.
No, but that one wears me out because all the talking heads and professional pundits, make comments that, oh, well, I'm sure this person was brought in and promised that they're going to start. I don't believe that Mark Pope or any other coach at that level is going to promise anyone a starting position. I really don't. I mean, there's too much competition, too many variables. I think you might go as far out as to say, I could see you being in this position, but you're going to have to perform on the court. But that would really put you in a corner as a head coach if you just told one of these kids you're coming in to start. And I do believe that kind of caused Cal some issues previously. But, bring these kids in, make them compete for playing time. If they're not a starter, they still can compete for significant minutes and come off the bench. There's only 5 spots. I mean, you can't start everyone, right?
Correct. So you have that feeling about that like I have with the football schedule. Oh, they might be much better, but the schedule's tough. You're in the SEC. The schedule's the schedule. And I feel the same way about basketball. Whoever it is in basketball, I mean, look, I want Kentucky to play Tennessee twice and stuff like that because of tradition and those kinds of things. But as far as who they play in first, second, and third, or whatever, who's earlier, who's later, I don't care. It's a basketball game. Bring it on. If you want to play for the national championship, you hope it doesn't really matter who's got the toughest schedule in the SEC. It's the SEC, and anybody in the SEC in basketball probably can beat you if you have a bad night. So therefore, play a tough schedule.
You're preaching to the choir. I want to play them all. There was a time period early in Cal's tenure here where he said, he had, I guess it was when everybody referred to him as Swaggy Cal. He said, we'll come to your town, we'll beat your team, we'll leave, plunder your community. And he wasn't afraid to take on anyone. That changed as the years went on.
It sure did.
I would love to go back to that mentality. We don't care if it's home, on the road, a neutral site. We're going to come in and beat you, take your belongings. We're going to go back to Lexington laughing. That's what I want to see it go back to.
Yeah, he started that literally because of UConn. That's how all that started.
Well, I can tell you, I would love
on a Sunday or something like that. We'll play UConn anywhere, and he would do it just to tick off Jim Calhoun, and it worked.
Well, they had a little beef for a number of years that predated his time here. But
yep,
I will tell you this: I wouldn't mind seeing a home and home with UConn. I would like to see that. I would like to get under Danny Hurley's skin a little bit. I think Mark could do that. I think our program is at the level that we can compete with those guys very well. That'd be a fun home and home series.
Or how about Madison Square Garden and the big arena in Indianapolis?
I'd love that as well. Yeah.
More money for everybody. You get to play Madison Square Garden. And what I missed in the old days when Kentucky would play in Indianapolis and you would walk in and 20,000 people in red and 20,000 people in blue, and it was divided in half. And I'll never forget the first time walking out on the court and going, wow, this is something out of a movie. It is spectacular. 40,000 people, half each side. It's wonderful. Now, I don't think 20,000 UConn fans would travel, but they might travel a little better than a lot of people think, because there are some bunch of grads who do have money in different parts of the country. But to play in Indianapolis, do I think they sell 40,000 seats? I do. And I also think that they would sell out Madison Square Garden. And yeah, playing Hurley in a home and home, that kind of thing, sign me up. It's a great suggestion.
I agree. I would love that, but that's way above my pay grade. So hopefully
take out North Carolina Central for that. I'm sorry for stepping on you, Chip. Take out North Carolina Central. Well, great background, Chip, as always. I appreciate it, brother. Thank you so much, and talk to you soon.
Thanks. Have a great week. See
You too, man. Chip Rupp.
Bye.
Yeah. The economics. I get it. But everything you can do, everything you could possibly do to negate playing cupcakes. I mean, I've been like this since I got here in the early 80s. And could it be perfect? No. Could have been better the last 40-something years? Absolutely, unequivocally, yes. But I get the economics. I get it that there are certain schools, they want you to go there, and there's only so many places you can go. And if that's an issue why you can't play them, I respect what Kentucky's doing because it's got money. I get it. But you can look at schools and you can look at schedules, and you can do better than some of the schools that are on this list. That's all. Cutler's always complaining. No, guess what? It's more fun for you. Certainly more fun for me. Not that I'm important. It's more fun for the players. For the players. Seriously. And I tell you what might be fun for you, getting healthier with Terry's big, beautiful deal. Terry Page, a great licensed massage therapist or deal through August 29th. Book an appointment now. Get $5 off. Schedule your next appointment before you leave. Get $10 off. All following appointments in succession. A great licensed massage therapist. Terry Page has helped me tremendously. Early in the week, she's in Butler, Kentucky. Rest of the week, she's here in Lexington. Text her, call her, use my name, please. 859-373-0578. 859-373-0578. Alan Cutler, 1300 AM, 92.5 FM.
No Filter Radio with Alan Cutler, brought to you by Quantrell Auto Group. QuantrellForLife.com.
Hi, this is Alan Cutler. Have a no filter comment? Hit the text line, 859-381-1313. 859-381-1313. Lexington, it's time to feel the warmth and spread the love in a brand new Subaru from Quantrell Subaru. This is Alan Cutler, and you can feel good about working with the Quantrell family for your next Subaru, because not only do we get the best in sales, service, and no gimmicks, but for decades, the Quantrell family of dealerships has donated to over 50 local charities and events. So play as hard as you work, go where you've never been, and keep it local at Quantrell Subaru. QuantrellSubaru.com.
Houchins Insurance Group is proud to partner with Auto Owners Insurance, a company that provides opportunity for independent agents to make insurance simple for their clients, offering risk management services that range from a renter's policy for your college student to home and auto coverage for your entire family. Houchins Insurance Group assures you that nobody works harder to keep you protected from life's uncertainties.
Reach out to AJ Boss or Zach Bennett at 859-263-2771 to see if Auto Owners Insurance makes sense for you.
Hi, this is Patrick DiGiacomo, and this is why I would recommend Republic Bank. So, when the bank manager brought me over just to show me how their ITM works, he hit this button where an actual live person came on the screen, and she was so kind and helpful, and it just made me feel like, wow, I'm not dealing with just a machine, I'm dealing with somebody that's actually paying attention to what I'm doing, and it made me feel really good.
And that's how Republic Bank helps their customers go from living to thriving. Learn more at republicbank.com. Member FDIC.
It's summertime, and that means it's time to hit the road. Whether you're heading across town or across the state, going on a picnic, to a baseball game, or driving to the lake, stop by, fill up, and stock up at Clark's Pump and Shop, your road trip headquarters.
Clark's Pump and Shop has everything you need to get you to your summertime destination, including assorted Jolly Rancher or Twizzler peg bags, 2 for $5, and Jacqueline's 2-ounce steak strip or extra large beef and cheese, 2 for $6.
Clark's Pump and Shop, return, refresh, refuel.
Back to No Filter Radio with Alan Cutler. Podcasts on Apple, Spotify, and Google, Monday through Friday.
Be the hardest worker in the room, be a contributor to the room. You know, I've never wanted to be a guy that's just somewhere present and not contributing anything. So I just look to contribute in whatever way that I can. You know, and a lot of that is mentoring a lot of these young dudes, but like I said, it's ultimately this being my last year. It's like, you know, it's time to go, and so, man, looking forward for a big shake back this year for just this team. And so I've just been in there with just a lot of passion every day, family. I think they just honestly feel the fire of, you know, what I'm about, you know, and what I'm hoping to bring to, you know, when the season starts.
Really good stuff we had played in the monologue in the first half hour. A number of sound bites from Seth McGowan, if you weren't with us then. And I continue to say this, that I think this is the deepest running back room in quite some time. And I think they have 4. And if there's a 5th guy that I don't know about, which it could be, we'll see. But they are so much deeper running back. It's not even funny. This is a big-time player. And Stoops has called him that. And Stoops doesn't usually say those kinds of things. And you talk about turning your life around. I think people know the story. He was in jail. He was facing 70 years. He got out. He never thought that he'd be back on this level playing college football. And he obviously not only appreciates having this opportunity again, but he wants to help younger players. I think it's great. I don't think it's good. I think it's great. And he is a tough runner. So this more from Seth talking about his journey and how he thinks in reality, if he doesn't appreciate where he is, it would be very smart. But guess what? He is smart because he does appreciate it. And he uses the word, you'll hear it, it's a blessing where he is today. And if you appreciate it for your entire life, from now on, it can take a horrible negative into a positive.
Yeah, obviously, it's nothing short of a blessing. It's something that I'm beyond grateful for. But like I said, I had to get. This is somewhere I had to get back to, and this, I went through a lot. There were a lot of hard times and a lot, but simply that I just want people to know that this is what choosing faith looks like. When you choose faith and you focus on the opportunity and not the obstacle, you'll be led in the right places around the right people, and that's where ultimately I feel like the decision was so easy for me to come here is because I could tell the group of guys that truly are here, and we're very family oriented and we don't care about anything else other than what's going on, what people say behind the scenes. And so that's what I'm about. That's how I like things, and it's kind of a us versus the world thing. So I just wouldn't rather be anywhere else. I feel like this is all kind of a divine interaction, just with the coaches here and their history, the OU, and so yeah, man, it's I'm just grateful every day, every second.
Jimmy, is that really, really, really good? How many times did he use grateful? And it's a blessing. Look, can we all be fooled? Absolutely. Am I rooting for this kid? Absolutely. Do I believe he means everything he says? I really do. And then the proof will be in the pudding. But Jimmy, isn't this kid easy to root for based upon what the heck he did and the mess he got himself into? And he could be really spending the rest of his life in jail. And he's out. And so maybe he's one of the folks that will come out and make something of himself. And really, I'm rooting for the kid hard.
Yeah, and he seemed, like you said, he's saying all the right things and seeming like he's on the right path, and someone who truly is grateful to have not just a second opportunity at life, but a second opportunity at playing big-time D1 college football. And I wonder how much, because, Shiaj Pete came here where he was at New Mexico State, and maybe that had, maybe he had a big influence on McGowan, just because his calming sense. I don't know, that's the way I'm looking at it, is almost like a literally big brother. And he's following him in here, and he can just kind of have that presence around him. Maybe that's helped him since he's, starting his return.
I think that has helped him. As a matter of fact, that's the next clip talking about his relationship with Shiaz, Big Pete.
It's big. We was in Las Cruces burning up. We was down there hustling hard and, trying to help that program and all the great people that are there. And we became pretty a little more successful toward the end of the season last year, but definitely built up a big bond with him just, through there. New Mexico State not being like we less paid, we didn't have as many resources, didn't have, the indoor or whatever, but, we all was in the same boat, and it was a grind, and, I think being out there taught us a lot just about, I mean, they could talk Pete a lot about just, not having much, and, so it's kind of like when you get out here and you got all of these resources and all these connections and all these people who are willing to pour into you, it's like, you don't want to do anything but, take advantage of it and, utilize it while you can and also reciprocate that same energy, so.
Las Cruces. Jimmy, I don't know if you've ever been to Las Cruces. I actually called a Little League baseball tournament down there, believe it or not. And the microphone broke. This was not my fault. And I had to call the entire tournament holding a telephone. It was a lot of fun. And I want to tell you, they had some unbelievable Mexican food, and I got some hot food. Made it difficult for a couple of days. New Yorkers shouldn't go to Las Cruces, New Mexico, and I was living in New Mexico, so I had eaten a bunch of hot food, and actually, for part of the time, a couple of Mexican ladies adopted me. It's a long, funny story, and so I lived on top of their house after living over Snooker's pool hall. It's the only white guy in the entire neighborhood. Everybody else was Mexican. They were great to me. The family was just absolutely wonderful. So I was used to hot food, but I remember eating dinner after calling the tournament that day, and after eating dinner, Jimmy, I'm just sweating bullets. The hot food. I'm going, I'm man enough to eat it. I can picture now the waitress said, Gringo, you sure you want hot? Yeah, bring it on. Man, I drank that beer down so fast. So it was burning. But the food there is great. It is warm there. Clip number 7 and the last one, he was facing 70 years. I can't imagine what his mindset had to be and how depressed you are and saying, how did I get myself in this mess? So here is Seth McGowan about what he was facing.
It was difficult. Like I said, I think at some point I was facing like 70 years, and it's kind of hard for a sane person to look at that and be like, oh no, that's not the case. I don't care. But man, at the end of the day, it's like I'm a man of faith, and I know that worrying doesn't do anything for anybody. And so I just kind of transformed all of those negative emotions and anxiety, and just put that into the craft and just continue at the game, man, and continue at doing what I love. Just kept making the right next step, just the right next step. And like I said before, you'll look up and you'll be in the right place with the right people at the right time. And, that's what I just had to get comfortable doing. I think God just kind of slowed me down. I think the way that I was at the time and the way that I was living was not sustainable. It was not a sustainable way, and that wasn't a way that, at the time I was too immature to see that.
Too immature, and now he sounds mature. I would have flipped to DeAndre Square, pound for pound, one of the great football players during his time at Kentucky, a captain, a leader, hard-nosed. I really thought he was going to make it big in the NFL. I know he's a step too slow, but I really thought he was going to make it. He epitomizes everything you want in a football player as a linebacker, and he understands toughness and what a leader. I remember the bowl game when he really shouldn't have been in the game at the end, and he willed his way to making a big play. It was spectacular. He recently was at a practice. He spoke to BBN, and he talked about the TEAM.
I think the players got to love ball, love what the SEC brings. I feel like with NIL it's kind of hard now to really just love ball because there's so many things involved with it. But I think the seasons that we had, the 10-3 seasons, I think we were a very close-knit team, and we did everything for each other. When we messed up on the field, we not only thought about ourselves, but we thought about our teammates. And I think, and I've been around the new team, I think they do a good job of working very hard, and I feel like they'll be a very team-oriented team this year. So just in that regards, I think they'll be better. And I think that's very important, especially in the SEC. Because when you look to left and right, you want somebody that's willing to fight and willing to play ball. So I think we'll be fine this year. They getting back to their roots. The underdogs, we do better as underdogs than being top dogs. So I like it. I like where we at right now.
Yeah, there is a mentality that Kentucky's always done better as an underdog, and I think at times when it switches because they're underdogs so much, they don't know how to handle being the favorite. I've always believed that, and if you're favored enough, you'll deal with it. But Kentucky hasn't dealt with it enough. I'm not ripping anybody. It's just reality as we know it. But I'll tell you what, if he wanted to coach, he'd be on my staff. There's no question about it. Bengals play tonight at Lincoln Field, 7:30. Preseason football, 14 years into the Bengals radio network, and really preseason football is really boring. Will I have it on? Yes, I will. Can you really tell much? No. When coaches saying jobs are at stake, I don't really buy it. Occasionally, yes. Most of the time, it's just a bunch of BS. But here's Joe Burrow. And here's what's important. This is clip number 1. He's having a heck of a camp. He feels really good about himself. And it sure seems like it's the healthiest he's been in a number of years.
Feel great. Body feels good. I think this is the best I'm throwing it in several years, so I'm excited about that. Excited about where our team's at, too. A lot of young guys stepping up, making plays, so very optimistic.
Why do you say that it's the best you've thrown it? What makes you feel that way?
We're out there every day.
Are you trying at this point in camp to go for throws you wouldn't typically in a game? Like, are you trying to push yourself a little bit further?
Depends on the period. 7-on-7, yeah. Team periods, no. Team periods, this year I'm treating it like a game. Finding checkdowns, getting it out quick, trying to get game speed ready.
Game speed ready. So he really pushes himself that in those sections he makes practice in his mind like the games. That's really, really good. Jimmy, we're going to jump to clip number 4. And by the way, you can hear the Bengals as you have for years on Classic Rock 92.1. We will have the game tonight. And so, Joe is a veteran now. He ain't a young kid. And hopefully he's got a lot more years. And really, for him not to win a Super Bowl, it'd be a shame with his talent. You always want the great ones to do it. And to tell you the truth, even though I'm not doing the Bengals radio network, the main reason why I watch him, because I think there's hope with Joe Burrow. If they had an awful team, would I watch as much? Probably not, honestly. Just because just how I feel. And with him in the game and, Chase and Higgins and stuff and Brown, they've got a hell of an offense. So he, in his own way, sets the standard. He's not the only one, sets the standard for the TEAM.
I try to set the standard every day with my preparation, with my play, with my discipline, my process, weight room, training room, everything. I just try to be as consistent and as disciplined as I can, trying to set that standard and try to be a resource for some of the guys that are trying to get to that point. And there's a lot of guys that you can tell are hungry to achieve, and so that's when you have guys that are hungry like that, want to take in information, want to create their own process to be great. Usually it's going to work out for guys like that.
I tell you, one of the things he said, it's the deepest wide receiver room he's had since he's been there. Trey Hendrickson, one of those holdouts, and he doesn't need training camp as much as, let's say, as I said, as Shamar Stewart, who finally came in, and the compliments about Stewart with his physical abilities is great, and they need to get him on there. I'm not saying he's wrong. I'm not saying the Bengals wrong. They got to figure this out. So, because he didn't want to lose $50,000 a day, he comes into training camp. He's not playing. He's sort of helping coaching. This is clip number 2. And Burrow never gets involved with these things as they're going on. He did say in the offseason, remember, sign Chase, sign Higgins. He did that in the offseason. Now he's just saying, we want it to happen. Let's work out. He's taking sort of a different approach, which I think is interesting. So Hendrickson is around. Here's clip number 2.
Whenever you can have a guy like that in the building, even if he's not going, it's good to see his face, good to have his presence. He's going to play a big part of this team this year, and so just to have him around makes a big difference in the energy around here.
Energy will always be better. He's one of the best defensive linemen in the NFL. Everybody knows that. Led the NFL in sacks the last 2 years. Now he's on the player's side, but he's not chomping as much as I thought he would be. I guess he's trying to be semi-politically correct, even though Joe Burrow is not really shy, but more on Troy not having a contract.
This is the guy that has the most sacks over the last 2 years, and production is value in this league. You can think you're such a good player, but not have any production doesn't really matter. So when you have a guy like that, you want to reward him.
You definitely want to reward him. Absolutely, unequivocally, beyond the shadow of a doubt, they're not the same team without him. They're just not. And it's really sad. And there are holes on this team. There's no question about it. But there is also, like so many teams, a window. There is a window. And this window is probably for at least a couple of years. I am concerned about the Bengals' offensive line. I am concerned. But I actually believe that their offense can carry them. Let's go to Al Golden. Jimmy, I can't find the sheet, but Al Golden, get ready for clip number 1. Give me a thumbs up when you have it. Al Golden is a defensive coordinator, and he's a heck of a coach, and he's brought a different voice and a different intensity to the team.
He is so poised on the line of scrimmage. He doesn't do anything fast. He tries to manipulate either the cadence to see a skew of some kind, to some kind of pre-snap tell. And he has so many answers. The one thing that is underrated is just some of those balls. If you were here last night, some of those touch throws, the overs, and just incredible throws. Guys draped on him, and the ball can only be caught if it's in one spot. So, accuracy, command. He has answers, and he's just playing with a lot of poise. And, I can't remember the last time we had an interception on him, and I think that's the greatest, that's the greatest compliment you can give a quarterback, because the ball will go out of bounds, or he'll take us, he'll eat it, rather than give up a big play. And you got to be mentally tough to do that.
Obviously, he's talking about Joe Burrow and what it's like to go against them in practice all the time. And I know coaches have to say all the right things, but I find it very, very legitimate with little nuances. Let's just play clip number 2, and then I'll explain what it is.
I don't really change too much. I know I'm not exciting, but, attack the ball. That's really important. Give great effort when you're in there. Recognize the situations. We missed a situation today. That was disappointing. We went over it a bunch of times. We missed it. We got to learn from that. And then tackling. You don't get many. These opportunities are like gold. You don't get many opportunities to tackle. So whether it's space tackling, vice tackling, all the different techniques that you've learned, that will be tested really for the first time on Thursday night.
So he brings a sense of intensity that you expect from a coach, and it's a different voice, and I've heard good things about him. He's been a really good coach for a long time. And so I think it's a nice addition. The Bengals needed another voice. I like the last defensive coordinator, but I could understand and respect why they wanted to make a change. I really, really could. Jimmy, I think the theme of the show has a lot to do with Seth McCowan, the running back. We wanted to really lay out a little bit more about this young man. I'm rooting for him like crazy. I don't tell fans how to think. I hope you root for him like crazy, and I stand by this. I think this running back room, I'm not saying it's the best in Stoop spin here. Ooh, I remember Benny Snell and a bunch of really good running backs, but I think it's a deep room, and we will go from there. And I think if they can run the ball, as I mentioned in the monologue, sometimes when you have 2nd and 2 or 2nd and 3, you might be all more apt to take a chance downfield because you believe you could still get it running the ball because you have a good back and you have a good enough line. And I think that could change a lot of things around here. Brad Taylor coming up next. Matthew and Jimmy 10. I'll be back at noon. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate you.